Hi, soul survivors. We're going to talk about the discard. The narcissist can discard in different ways because we're searching for some answers on what went wrong. Why did this happen? And trying to understand the narcissist. So they can have a triggered discard and also a reverse discard where they get you to leave them. And I've seen it happen. I've talked to other people in the past where they were planning on divorcing. And they specifically said, I will make her life hell, so she'll leave me. And that's extra abuse that that person didn't have to go through. Uh, they can be very toxic to where they don't have enough guts to say something to someone. So they're going to hurt them more. And then the person will leave. They don't want to be the one at fault. So if they're the one that's leaving, they're going to feel that they're the one is at fault. So they can tell their family members, I tried, they left me, I'm the victim, as opposed to, the relationship either just fell apart or it was their fault. They obviously left the commitment. So that's in my eyes kind of being at fault when you take a vow in a marriage or at least a relationship. If you're breaking the commitment, you're breaking the relationship. So they can also get triggered. They can see something that brings shame to them. Or a lot of times they can just get sick of trying to work things out, trying to make things better, trying to look at both sides of the relationship, because it is all about the narcissist. If it was about both people, you can compromise. And, we have to let go of some things too, but there are boundaries that we don't want broken. Hopefully we set clear expectations. And sometimes too, in toxic relationships, if the expectations aren't clearly defined, it leaves room for destruction. And I mentioned that we have to have clear expectations in the classroom. So without that, anything goes, almost like the kids run crazy, do whatever they think they can get away with or whatever they want to do. And expectations are put there to keep order in the relationship. That's why, when you have your wedding vows, it's not just yes, yes. It's, the expectations are forsaking all others, da 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 da. This is what we need to make it work. There's a reason those expectations are put into place. And that's why when you're dating someone, if you're going to sleep with them before marriage, that, you should set up, are we exclusive? If that's important to you. But the discard can happen seemingly out of nowhere. And that's where it can be really hurtful, to where you think everything is going great. And it could be a trigger, something simple, something that you wouldn't even realize. Like if you were being used for your money and parent passed away and you're like, I didn't realize my parents didn't have life insurance. So now if you're being used for your money, the narcissist might leave you because they thought they were coming into some money. And you're like, we had 15 years together. Like, what just happened? And it can be real hurtful because it seemingly comes out of the blue when you were being used and you didn't even really realize it. Like, they can hide red flags from us. They're not going to come out and say, I'm so glad your parents are rich and I can't wait to get that money. Sometimes they will let that come out, but with the reverse discard, it's almost like a double whammy, because you're saying they're trying harder and harder and harder, and you're starting to question yourself or your value, and we start to lower our self-esteem when we're trying too hard, because we're scared of losing someone that we care about. And that's when we need to step back and evaluate, is it getting better or worse? And it's a real thing that they, instead of leaving, will make you leave. So to protect their ego, to protect their persona, their false image. If they want to leave, then, you can't stop them. You can try to work things out, but you can't stop somebody. We have free will, even with the marriage vows. Once those are broken, or the trust is broken, the relationship is broken. And is it repairable? Is it worth salvaging? With a narcissist, it gets worse over time. They're not self-aware. If they are self-aware, they still struggle, because this is where it's different in normal relationships. They get irritated that we have needs, and we are trying so hard to fulfill their needs. And we feel sometimes that by loving them more, it'll make it better. By doing more, it'll make it better. Not with a narcissist, because they start taking advantage of that. And in a sense, they start to feel, I'm not worthy of this. Because when they were a child, what they went through was either they were only worthy if they were praised. So when we're saying there's something wrong, they don't feel the praise. They feel like they're a failure. And people like to run from failure. So our communication to them makes them feel like a failure. It's not encouraging to them, because they either had high expectations or only were shown affection when they achieved. And the things that they had to achieve were almost a lot of times unachievable. So when we're saying we can work on this, they're like, it's unachievable. I've never really made it. And you would think with love, it would build things up, but it makes them run from that because of what it brings to their feelings. People love being around people because of how they make each other feel. We gravitate towards people that make us happy. And when the narcissist is interpreting our desire to communicate, they take it personally instead of the relationship. I want to focus on the relationship. They look at as that we're saying we want to focus on them and what's wrong with them. We're focusing on something different, but they take it so personal that it hurts them. And they're just not strong enough to see, no, focus on this. I'm not attacking you. I'm just saying this is what's wrong here. Just like if you say, our house is falling apart, they're going to take it as, you're a shit provider and you fucked up buying this house. And it's like, no, I'm just saying, we need to fix that. I still love you and it has nothing to do, I'm not bitching about the decisions. It's just, this is what the house needs. And they can take things as attacks and they want to run from that. Over time, it builds up. And I'm not saying it's your fault. It's the perception from the narcissist. But when they start to do the reverse discard, they start to risk things a little bit more. Yeah. Fuck you. I'm staying out till 4 in the morning. I'm going to come home late. I'm not telling you where I'm going. And it causes a lot of frustration. And that's why it's so much different, so much more painful in dealing with a narcissist. You see their true colors during the discard phase, the devaluation phase. You don't see their true colors in the beginning. The new supply, it's going to take time for them to see who that person is. But you saw them too. And once the discard happens, it can be brutal. Or at least in that devaluation stage, you start feeling it slipping, you start trying more. And once you try more with the narcissist, they take it in a whole different way. They take it as power, and they get a thrill out of seeing your pain. It gives them an ego stroke. It also, in their eyes, you know, a lot of them will come back because it secured or cemented their ego stroke of how much we care, that they feel that they can just come back at any time. That's why a lot of times they'll act like nothing happened. Did they really think through what they were giving up? Because they didn't care in the moment. So does a narcissist miss people? They do miss people, but they don't feel the remorse. They might feel regret, but they don't feel that remorse. And remorse is what brings a change of action. You know, just like, you know, I regret eating an ice cream. Oh, well, shouldn't have done it. Broke my diet. Oh, well, you know, and you do it again and again and again. And, you know, if you have remorse where you're like, whoa, this like really affected me and I got to change it. It's a little different. That's kind of not the best analogy, but it kind of gives you an idea of, whoa, that's not the best analogy, but be aware that once you get that devaluation stage, that's when you need to evaluate the situation, because a discard is most likely coming, especially if you try to talk through it. But you have needs too, and there's nothing wrong with needing to talk through things. And you get to the point where you're like, nothing's going to get better if we don't discuss it. So it's a no-win situation, because the pattern will just continue to get worse unless you redirect it. And the narcissist just wants to do what they want to do. They don't want to take accountability. They don't want to feel the shame. So their tactics of the silent treatment, all those kind of things, you do that to them, it's a trigger to them. They don't like it, and they don't tolerate it. They're so different, and it's, you know, if they truly appreciated the person, they would work through it. It's all about supply to them. It's just so different. So keep healing. Remember your self-worth. Don't get your self-worth from outside sources. So if you went through a breakup, it's not about you. It's not about you. You tried everything you could, and it was just toxic. You know, you see all these people, Camp Lejeune. Was it their fault they got cancer? They were drinking water? No, it wasn't their fault. It was something they didn't see, didn't know about, and it turned out toxic to them. So as an analogy, it's something you didn't know, something you didn't see, and it turned out toxic. And it's sad that people pay the price. But the people at Camp Lejeune, they didn't do anything wrong. They drank toxic water. They didn't know. You know, they looked at the water looked clean. Some of them, I don't know if they did water testing, but they at least could see with their eyes that the water looks clean. It's coming, they could use their knowledge. It's coming from the plant or the well or wherever it's coming from. People have been drinking it for so long. They used the information that they had, and they were a victim. So don't feel fault. Because the people, I hope that's a good analogy. The people at Camp Lejeune, they weren't at fault, but they paid the price. And it's a sad reality. So in your next relationships, don't bring baggage into it. Heal yourself first. Otherwise, you're going to go through the toxic portions of a relationship, and just avoid that. Be with somebody who's healed, or at least as healed as possible. And look out for red flags. I have some videos on that. Share some of the red flags you guys saw. But when you start seeing those red flags of the devaluation stage, or now they're more and more in that discard phase, you know, it's okay to leave. I'll see you soon. I know it's hard, but it does get better. You're a soul survivor.